Hello and welcome to this week's video. I am Anne LaFollette and I am a surface pattern designer and an online coach. And I am starting this series of Adobe Illustrator tutorials on my channel. And what I thought I would do this week, since I've done a couple of them already, is actually to back up for a second and show you my setup and the specific settings that I have inside Adobe Illustrator in case you would like to set up your Adobe Illustrator the same way as mine. And what I mean by that is ensuring that your toolbar looks the same as me and that some of the other settings are similar. Of course, we all have different computers. We all might have different versions of Adobe Illustrator. And if you don't have Adobe Illustrator, I will leave a link below this video so that you can sign up for a free trial. But without further ado, let's jump in to the tutorial. What you see on screen is Adobe Illustrator when I first open it up. And I'm going to create a new document. Do you see my cursor over here on the left? I'm just going to click on Create New. It gets highlighted in white. And for purposes of this demonstration, it doesn't really matter what I pick. So I'm just going to pick 800 by 800 pixels. I'm going to come over to artboards over here because I really only need one. So I'm just going to toggle that switch down to one. I almost always work in RGB color, and I always want my raster effects to at least be on 150 ppi. Sometimes this is actually even higher. I select 300 so that it's really nice resolution. And these are under your advanced options. So if this little arrow is actually pointing in this direction, just know you can click on that arrow to expand to change these settings. Then I'm just going to click the blue Create button. And there you have it. Now I have a new document here. And as I've described before, this portion of my screen, which has the black that's black all the way around it, this is my artboard. My canvas color is the same color. It's the same white color, but this is an area where sometimes I'll put my motifs before I'm going to start to work on an illustration. And the goal of this video was for me to just show you a couple of presets that I wanted to let you know about in case you'd like your screen to look as close as possible to mine for future video tutorials. Now, the first thing I'll point out is I am on Adobe Illustrator 2021. If you already have a subscription to Adobe Illustrator, you can always make sure that you have updated your version to the very, very latest. And the way that I do that is because I'm on Adobe Illustrator CC Creative Cloud, there's a little icon like this at the top of my screen. And if I click on it, I can see whether Photoshop is up to date, whether Illustrator's up to date. If it's not, you'll have this, instead of saying open, will actually say that you can update it. So that's a little pro tip for you. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you was on prior versions of Adobe Illustrator, there was a window up here where you could pick what you wanted your workstation to look like or your work setups to look like. And they've changed that to just make it all of those settings. They're still here. They're just hiding underneath this icon up here. Do you see where my cursor is in the upper right-hand corner now? I'm going to hover over this icon and it says Switch Workspace. If you just click on that, I always like to be set to Essentials Classic because that gives me some of my most used settings right over here. And when I do these tutorials, I'll always tell you multiple ways to find things in case your setup is different from mine. Because I've used Adobe Illustrator for years now, I also know what all these icons on the right-hand side actually mean. We use this one a lot that you'll become familiar with, which is swatches. But the most important thing is if you hover over this icon, you can switch to Essentials Classic, and then these settings should look the same as mine. Again, if you're on Adobe Illustrator 2021, and if you're on a Mac, because I use Apple products and I'm on a Mac. Your settings might be different if A, you're on a different version of Adobe Illustrator, and B, if you're on a PC. But in my tutorials, I always tell you multiple ways to find the things I'm demonstrating, which should help you out no matter what type of computer you have or what version of Illustrator you have. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you is I have my toolbar. See my cursor here? It's now all the way over on the left. This toolbar area over here has a whole bunch of toolbars on it. And if you actually don't see all of these, you can click on Edit Toolbar, which are these 3 dots down here. And you can then scroll through. See the slider here? There's a little slider. And all of the settings that are already set for me are grayed out because basically I've got them pretty much all set. And the reason I was able to do that, and so this is another pro tip. Here, let me click here. What I want you to do is I want you to go to Window. See up here all the way at the top, Window. Then I want you to scroll down to Toolbars, and I want to make sure you've set this to Advanced. Now, if I clicked on Basic, you notice what happened? I got a much simpler toolbar over here on the left. So again, I'm going to go to Window, I'm going to go to Toolbars, and now I'm going to click Advanced, and then watch that toolbar area expand. It's expanded to be both 2 columns, and you'll notice there are a bunch more tools that are showing up. And one thing that is universal is many of these tools have a little arrow in the lower right-hand corner. And if you right-click on your mouse, you get a flyout menu. And if you aren't using a mouse but are on the type of machine that might have what's it called? It's a scroll pad or a touchpad. You might have to double-click in one of the corners of that touchpad in order to get these flyout menus, what are called flyout menus, to show up, because each of these tools has a bunch of additional options underneath them. So those were the 2 or 3 things I just wanted to demonstrate really quickly in this tutorial to help you kind of set yourself up in as similar a manner as possible to the way I'm set up to make these tutorials easier for you. So I'll come back on screen and we'll wrap things up. I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial that shows you my settings inside Adobe Illustrator. That way, when you come back and I give you additional tutorials in the weeks to come, when you go into Adobe Illustrator yourself, you should see almost what I see on screen. Now, of course, you may have a different computer for me. And as I mentioned, you also might have a different version of Adobe Illustrator. And don't forget, if you have not signed up for Adobe Illustrator yet, click the link that is below this video and get yourself a free trial. I always like to say in closing that I am Anne LaFollette, and it's never too late to create. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please go to my website, AnneLaFolletteArt.com. What you see on screen is the cover image that you see as soon as you land on the website. And all the way at the bottom, you can follow me on Instagram at AnneLaFolletteArt. And there's a link there for you to click on. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Anne LaFollette, and you can click on the subscribe button and then hit that little bell so that you're notified the next time I have a broadcast for you.